G'day and welcome back to Frybat, Friday Beers and Tools with Andy. It's been a few weeks. I've been up in the north of Australia doing some reserve work with the Royal Australian Air Force, and had a great time up there. And of course 32 degrees every day, and coming back to Tassie winter, a little bit hard to take, but yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, so I'm back with you guys now, so let's get into it. Starting off this return Frybat with a Tassie beer, and it is from the Spotty Dog brewery, and it is called their California XPA. What do they have to say about their Cali XPA? Long hot days and sand under your feet. If only Hobart summers lasted forever. The combo of Tassie and US hops bring the bursting citrus and tropical fruit, while the oats and wheat provide the smashable mouthfeel. This beer is endless summer vibes. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. California, here we come. Yeah, right. I guess somebody's got to write it, and they're sounding more and more AI written, aren't they? Anyway, happy Friday. Yeah, very refreshing XPA. Yeah, very tropical feel. That'd be superb on a 32-degree day in Darwin. Not so much on a overcast 10-degree day in Tasmania, but I like beer. Very easy to drink. Probably could get you into trouble, given, it's only 1.4 standard drinks, 4.8%, so it's not super high on the alcohol, but very easy to just smash it away. Yeah, look, that's pretty good. I'm quite impressed with a lot of these Tassie craft beer. Admittedly, as I've mentioned before, I bought this from BWS, which is a very large chain in Australia, and BWS is also, to their credit, seem to feature a lot of beers from the local area. So if you go to a BWS in Tasmania, it'll feature a lot of craft beers from Tasmania. Go to Melbourne, features a lot from Victoria, etc., etc. So that's a good thing. It's a very large organisation, and but you know, still. But that's a nice refreshing beer. It's not real heavy, like it doesn't have a super amount of flavour. I've had better XPAs, but it's easy to drink. It's not super, tropical. It's not super citrusy. It's just a fairly light beer flavour. And I say light beer. In Australia, light beer is light alcohol. Of course, in America, light beer means light in calories. So it's a light beer for me in flavour. Quite drinkable. On my Spanner scale, that's a 2.5 out of 5. Nothing wrong with it. It's also not upper end. Still beer. Alrighty, let's get on to today's tool. A little bit hard to show you the box because it's got stickers all over it, but I purchased on Temu recently, and of course I didn't have to buy it from Temu. It was one of those things, I won't say it was there to make up the order to the minimum postage, but it certainly was a very cheap, dirty glasses, it was certainly a very cheap version of what I'd seen before. Now, bear in mind, a lot of these Chinese tools are made cheaply, but also bear in mind, a lot of these Chinese tools are now made for name brands, and so made in the same factories. Are they the same spec? Are they the same, bearings and tolerances? Yeah, perhaps not. But look, I think this cost me, and I'll have to look it up, stand by. This cost me on Temu a grand total of $12.41. That was a special price, so I guess the current price is $32.87, but those that have been watching Temu for a while know that often things come down to very, very cheap prices. And what it is a very small, compact, sort of, I guess, almost palm size, hand size die grinder. Now, obviously, air dry grinder, I should have added. So it works off pneumatics, so you need a compressor to run this. Now, more and more workshops, including mine, are going away from air tools. One, because they're noisy. Two, because you've got to have you're connected always to an airline. And three, they use a fairly large volume of air, so you need a really good, decent compressor. I have all those things, and I have to admit I have gone away from a lot of air tools, such as impact wrenches, air sanders and things like that, because they're now been replaced with cordless, the battery products that you've seen on my channel, in my case, the Makita LXT 18 volt range, and also in the smaller range, the Milwaukee M12 range. But there still is a place for air tools. And this one I purchased not to use as a die grinder, but actually to use for bodywork. All right, we'll talk about that in a sec. What do you get in the box? Well, you get a flimsy cardboard box. You get a couple of spanners to actually release the die head on it, and it is a standard 1/4 inch die grinder fitting. You also get a little parts breakdown, and often with a lot of air tools, you don't get a connection. This one actually does come with a connection. You do have to fit it with a bit of thread tape, and then it's ready to go. Bear in mind, these do need oiling periodically in the airline. So what are its specs? It has a free speed of 20,000 RPM. It uses a very minimal 2.8 cubic feet per minute, or 80 litres per minute. It says it's got 2 collets. Only seems to come with one collet, which is a 1/4 inch one. So it can take an 1/8 inch collet as well. Doesn't seem to come with that. Air exhaust is from the rear. It has a length, total length, very compact, 6.18 inches or 157 millimeters. It weighs 0.49 kilograms or 1.08 pounds. It requires 90 psi air pressure or 6.2 bar, and the air inlet is 1/4 inch. All right. So as I mentioned, I'm not going to use this, I'm not going to use it at all as a die grinder itself. What I am going to use it for is I'm adapting it to use as a mini air sander. I also purchased this kit. It's a 100-piece kit from Temu. It comes in a cardboard box, and it comes with 2 different sizes of sanding and polishing heads. That's the smaller, I guess it's 2 inch. Yep, 2 inch backing pad. And what it comes with is a couple of mandrels, one of which being a 1/4 inch drive. It screws onto the back there. This goes into my little 1/4 inch, my little die grinder, and now I have a very comprehensive multi-grit. Comes with the kit of sanding. It comes with sanding hook and loop pads that actually go down to 2000 grit. So when you're doing 2000 grit, they are for finishing, like for very fine finishing on paintwork, and having a foam backed so that you cannot put much pressure on is a really, really good thing. The main thing I bought it for is for sanding in tight positions. So it actually does come with a whole heap of 150 grit. I'll put a picture up on the screen here of all of the pads that it comes with. There's a total of 100 pieces within the kit, and Temu currently has this for a grand total of $16.49. Obviously, you've got to meet their minimum requirements. The second pad is a 3-inch pad, same sort of thing, a little bit larger diameter. Probably won't use that as much, but still will get some use out of it. And it comes with a wide range of wide range of sanding discs as well. Okay, the 3-inch range, as you can see from the picture up here, goes from 80 grit right up into 3000 grit, and then the 2-inch range goes from 1500 up to 3000 grit as well. I will try and find some more coarse 2-inch pads, because they are really good for getting into tight weld spots and things like that when you're fabricating. However, for $16.49 for a 100-piece set, that is phenomenal value. So we're actually going to review these separately and give you my verdict on them. So having a quick look on Amazon, the cheapest 1/4-inch right angle die grinder with the same specifications as the one that I've shown you from Temu is around about $53, so quite expensive. So that makes the Temu version very good value. It's currently on Temu for $32.87 delivered. For $32 for an air tool delivered is actually pretty darn good value as far as I'm concerned. Is it as good quality as a high quality brand like Ingersoll Rand or whatever? Probably not quite as good, probably a little bit noisier, specifications aren't quite as, or tolerances aren't quite as good. However, for a home hobbyist like me, I would rather spend $32 on a tool than $132 on a tool, given the amount of work that it's going to do. If it was being used every day and I had the ability to write it off on business tax, then perhaps a more expensive brand would be worthwhile. But given the amount of use that I'm going to actually put that thing through, that's very good value. So for value for money for $32, I'm going to say that that is a 5 out of 5 beers for value. For functionality, you saw me open the box. I haven't actually run it yet, so I have no issue that it will run as expected. All of these tools do. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that until I've actually used it on a job. So I won't give you a report on that yet. However, for it all looks the goods. It looks as good as every other air tool that I own. For the 100-piece sanding, grinding, not really grinding, but 100-piece sanding, 2-inch and 3-inch backing pad kit. Look, for the price, whatever it was that I said at Temu had it, $16 something, wow. Are the sandpaper pads as good quality as the really high quality 3M ones, things like that? Probably not. They're also, you know, you're paying that for a set of pads of 1 grit size. So yeah, look, again, for a home handyman hobbyist like me, $16.42, crikey, I'll go and buy another set, even if it means I don't need another set of backings, just to get more of the sandpaper. I haven't actually looked. I'm sure there are kits with just the sandpaper that are probably very good value. But look, for value for money for $16.42, that's also a 5 beers out of 5. For functionality, I have used these type of sandpapers before on other projects. The backing pads are sturdy. They are made of a rubbery sort of material, so they do wear over time. However, I have no qualms giving that a 5 out of 5 for functionality. It works. Is it as good as the name brands like 3M sandpaper? Probably not quite. Sandpaper doesn't last quite as long. However, for the cost, again, I'm not in business. This is so cheap, and I'd go and buy another one in a heartbeat. Anyway, that's it for Friday Beers and Tools. Hope things are good where you are, and we'll catch you hopefully next week. Cheers. And it's got a standby. And if I can get it out of the plastic bag, which I'll never go back into.